feeling pretty higgy right now. Winter. Hello, fellow plant people. Welcome back if you are returning to my channel, and if you are new, my name is Jen. I go by The Leafy Geek here and also on Instagram. And it's kind of a lazy little Sunday. I'm filming this pretty much in real time, so I don't know how this editing's gonna go, but I'm hoping to get this up same day. So we are on the tail end of a winter weather advisory. We got some extra inches of snow last night, so everybody's kind of hunkering down or just kind of emerging from hunkering down, shoveling ourselves out. I have nowhere to be. Today is kind of my hangout plant care day, so I'm just been wandering around my house, checking on plants, seeing who needs what, and I realized that I really haven't done a jungle cacti update in a while. My ripsalis and epiphyllums are doing great. I just haven't featured them in a video recently. I have a few that I will definitely make sure to put down in the description and up in the cards so that you can have access to them, but dogs. I've made a few videos. One was a tour, just kind of an overview of what types of jungle cacti I had in my home. And then another one was a little bit more of an in-depth look at jungle cacti and where they fall in the taxonomical scheme of the plant world. So I thought I'll just give you a little update today. We'll go explore my jungle cacti and see what's going on. We'll see how things are growing, what things are doing, and if there are any tragedies that have transpired since the winter started. Let's go look at the jungle cacti. Okay, I'm trying to film this in a way that's not gonna blow out the camera light. As you can see, they are in a new place in my house. They are in my bedroom, in my west-facing window. So this window, it's small. I think it's just like a 36-inch wide window, but it does get some really good light in the summer specifically, but it does get some southwestern aspect light in the winter. And you can see I have shears in case this is mainly for summer when the light is super strong coming through this window after a certain point. It's usually around like 1:30, 2 o'clock. But I do have some obstacles kind of in the way of that super potent western light in the summer. Namely, it's my neighbor's house that's in the way. So it does get some really good afternoon light in the summer, but for winter, I have a grow light installed up here. So that combination, they seem really happy here. I was a little bit worried to move them, but I realized that my IKEA shelves in my plant room were kind of the ideal location for all of my smaller Hoya. I have accumulated quite a few of those, and it was just getting to a point where they were scattered all over, and I was really worried I was going to lose track of them and, you know, miss out some waterings. This way I have them all contained on those shelves, and it worked really well. And honestly, the shelves are full. I'll have to show you those at some point too, but jungle cacti moved to my bedroom, and I think that they are thriving here in a lot of ways. Even though it's winter and things might look a little weird, they are doing quite well here. So I am pleased. My experience with jungle cacti is that if you provide them at least, you know, the adequate light conditions they want, and you kind of just keep up on humidity for them, they do really well. Really wherever you can put them, but I definitely think that the supplemental light is helping. Let's start our tour here at the bottom, and we'll work our way up. I have one of these little blonde faux wood IKEA tables that work out really well. I have a set of 2 of those, so in my bedroom, they're both under each of my windows. So I have a couple of plants hanging out on the table itself. This is my Ripsalis bassifera subspecies horrida. This is that really fuzzy one that I think this hails from, is it Madagascar? It's the only Ripsalis you will find on the African continent. The rest of them you'll find on the American continents. Primarily, I would say, South America. But this one you find, technically it's Africa. I'll have to revisit in my brain where specifically this one hails from. But it's doing well. It's pushing out new growth up top. You can see some of these kind of reachy branches have forked out, which is cool to see. A lot more of those than from when I first got the plant. And then up top, it really likes this light. You can see there's some new little growth that's characterized by the red buds on the end. So this one's doing pretty darn well. This one, because I think of its natural environment, it's a little bit more drought tolerant and more tolerant of less humid situations than some of these other ones. Then over here I have my dragon fruit. This is the Hylocereus guatemalensis, the American Beauty variety. This one was one that I got from Logi's a while back, and as you can see, it's got some kind of fun growth happening on it. So it put out this whole arm when I had it outside last summer. And then you can kind of document this little section was from when I had to bring it back indoors. And then since I moved it under this light to this new location. So this had been in my my plant room for a while. But it was not getting, I think, the light that it wanted in my plant room. And so this is what has come out since it's been under this aspect light right here. So interesting. It's kind of like an interesting documentation of its growth history. But overall doing pretty well, I'd say. Bottom shelf. Here I've got a couple of epiphyllums. This is my epiphyllum. This is the variety over the top orchid cactus. Then I have my one and only fern leaf cactus. I think this is, oh, I don't have it labeled. I usually have these labeled because I can't really keep them all straight in my brain, but I think this is my only Selenocereus. I'll have to look that up and I'll put the name on the screen just to make sure that I'm right. And then in the back there, it looks kind of dark right now. So I've been thinking about rotating these guys out a little bit and kind of trading maybe the back two so that, you know, one can get a little bit more light. But the epiphyllum angular back there is doing okay. I haven't seen any issues and I see some growth on it too. And then right here is my Ripsalis mesembryanthemioides, my clumpy mistletoe cactus. This one has kind of struggled a little bit. I think that in my plant room, when I had it on my IKEA shelf, it was just getting too strong of light. It seems a little bit more light sensitive, so I have it on this lower shelf where it seems to have flushed out a little bit more. Just really seemed like it was desiccating. It was getting really dry really fast. So it's still not in the best condition. I'd say probably of all of my jungle cacti, this one might be kind of in the roughest shape right now, but it's hanging in there. I'm just really trying to keep it up with the watering on it. Next shelf up, I have my Ripsalis paradoxa. This thing has been so slow. I really haven't seen a whole heck of a lot out of it. It's kind of been maintaining. It's maintaining. It's not like dying, but it's just been very slow. So I'm gonna maybe have to attribute that to being winter, but I don't know. Keeping an eye on it, that's for sure. Still haven't repotted it. I've been kind of reluctant to repot any of these in the winter, just because they're in terracotta, they're kind of settled, you know. I'll look into it probably in the spring, and hopefully we'll have some better growth out of it. And I haven't been fertilizing these at all this winter either. Then Over here is my Ripsalis casutha. Sorry, get this guy out of the way here. And this is another one that desiccates pretty quickly if you underwater it. So as you can see, you'll see some of these are looking a little bit sad and wrinkly. It's just because they are due for a water. I'm not filming after I've watered them, or, you know, this is the reality of the situation. For some of these tropical plants in winter is that your care for them changes up a little bit, and you water them less frequently. Some of them go dormant. I don't think Ripsalis ever achieve an actual dormancy, but you know, you slow the pace of watering for them because this is a slower season for them. And they'll make it. They'll be fine. They just won't look as lush and as, you know, as healthy per se as they might in their ideal growing season, which is summer. So then I have a couple of small ones that I managed to rescue from cuttings. So these plants, both of these, this is my hurricane cactus, or I think it's a Lepismium spiralis. And this one I had outdoors. This is what's left of it. The thing got some sort of pest on it. I think it was spider mites when it was outside. So I ended up cutting the plant down pretty significantly, and took cuttings. Obviously couldn't save the rest of it, but these rooted and they are doing quite well. So I still have that plant in some form. And then this other one over here, this is the Ripsalis X Hansweiler GRF that was also outside. Just don't know that this one had pests. It just started to decline when I brought it in. So I, again, ended up taking some cuttings, and it's doing okay. My other plant that was in a similar situation, it seems like all of the Ripsalis that I had outdoors this past summer and then tried to transition back in, that didn't work out very well for any of them. They weren't happy. And so the third plant that I have in that situation is my pseudo Ripsalis ramulosa, and that's out in my grow box right now because I'm trying to root that one after several attempts. I've been trying to kind of make that a healthy plant since fall. Really, honestly, the thing has struggled. So these were the two that rooted up and are doing okay in pots again. Next shelf up. So this is when things start to get a little fun and dangly. So this is my very first Ripsalis I ever purchased. This is my Ripsalis Campos Portoana. And it's just it just grows. That's all it does. So we're already kind of on the, on our way down the shelves here. Kind of refer to this section as my noodle section because I have this one. I also have this Bassifera species. So this is the Ripsalis Bassifera subspecies Schaeferi, which again looks a little bit wonky and sad because it definitely needs a water. I'm going to take care of all of that right after I am off of this little tour with you. And then down here, this is kind of an interesting leftover. It's the Ripsalis that I used to wall mount. I did a wall-mounted Ripsalis from a duplicate order. So basically I tried to order this plant. Don't know if you can see this very well. This type of plant, this species that was offered on Josh's Frog's website, and they sent me this plant, which I already had. So there was some sort of error on their website where they had posted the wrong listing, and I didn't need this one. I was trying to fill out this one and get this plant a little bit more luxurious and full. So I ended up just mounting part of it and then repotting the other part. So I'm trying to remember, I'll put the name of this species on the screen, but it's doing pretty well. Got even some new growth on it. That's cool. This is a pretty hardy variety. It's probably one of my biggest Ripsalis. I'll show you that in a second. And then back here is a Salicornoides, the Ripsalis Salicornoides, the Dancing Bones Ripsalis. And this one I'm still learning. I think this one's a little bit thirstier than some of my other ones. It just, as you can see, is quite desiccated. So I'm going to get on that real quick because I think this one probably struggles a little bit more rebounding from drought than most of these other varieties that I have. Next shelf up, got some of my flat-leafed varieties up here. This is my Ripsalis elliptica, which I would say has grown quite a bit. I've got some outreach happening here with these new, look at that. It's doing quite well, actually. This one and the next one I'm going to show you are doing really, really, really awesome. So elliptica here, circling around my Ripsalis gobeliana right here. There we go. As you can see, it's just kind of noodling down. So the new growth is a lot smaller than some of this older growth. I'm going to essentially attribute that to maybe that it's not getting as good of light on this side of this shelf as on the other side. I am going to rework this situation come spring. It's just that right now, with the light that I'm getting out of this window and my grow light here, this is kind of the best setup I could think of for this shelf. But I'm always trying to change things up. If I see that plants aren't doing the greatest where they're at or how they're positioned, I will try and change the setup up so that they're getting what they need. Then this other one, Ripsalis micrantha, this is the form Rauhiorum. This one's struggling a little bit, I will be honest. Again, I think like the Salicornioides, this one, it struggles to rebound if it dries out too much. So I'm trying to stay on that one as best I can. It's not, there's healthy growth on it, I see, but I'd really like to focus on this one a little bit better and give it what it needs, which I think is mainly just water. It needs a more consistent watering schedule. Getting kind of out of breath from holding my camera up on the tripod here, but we'll see how filming this top shelf goes. Surprisingly, I've got a couple that are doing okay up here, and then I've got one that's thriving up here, so we'll show you that. But this one is my Ripsalis sp. I call it the Venezuela for short. It's got that big old fun number. DJC Estado Aragua. And I mean, it's growing. It's actively growing. Tendrils all the way down here. And I have, whenever this thing feels like breaking off a chunk of itself, I just stick it back in the pot. Like with this one. And this one already has new growth on it. They root so fast if you do that, in my experience. And then my Ripsalis cereoides over here, enjoying the window space for now. Again, I do rotate these out. It's usually on like a bi-monthly basis, if that makes sense. Or is it bi-weekly? Every couple of weeks. So like half of the month, these guys are in their positions, and then the other half of the month I switch and move the ones in the interior to the window and vice versa. Seems to work okay. And I've got a lepismium up there. I cannot remember the name of that lepismium. That desperately needs a water though. Holy cow. And then this guy, this is I'm going to take this one down just because my Ripsalis rhombia, again, needs a water, but it has grown a ton. Several segments on each of these little branches here, and then the ones that I've put into the soil to root that have broken off are doing really well too. So that's cool. Rhombia's hanging out, doing its thing. Yeah, all of these need a water immediately, it seems like. So, That is the main Ripsalis shelf at this point. And I am planning on changing this setup up. I'm going to be bringing in one of my wider shelves that's going to fit across the whole window. At some point, I'm using that right now for seed starting. So in the spring and toward the summer, that will end up right here. And they'll be all able to kind of enjoy the same amount of light. Okay, now we're in the plant room, and I've got my 3 big kind of branchy Ripsalis still in here on this top shelf. They just really fill the shelf nicely, and they're all doing quite well here, so I'd been kind of reluctant to move them, especially if I don't have space for them right now in that other window. So sulcata, that's the big one. That's the one that I got the duplicates of from Josh's Frogs. That's my main plant, the first sulcata I got, and it's just insane and I love it. And then over there in the middle, I'm trying to read the tag. It's tough for me to read it because I've got a bunch of Hoya in front of me. I'll put that on the screen though for you. Again, also branching out considerably. And then my Ripsalis ewaldiana is in the corner there. And even though it's in a corner, it seems to be just doing really well. So no complaints from these 3 little dudes. And there, of course, is my mounted sulcata right there. Cool. All right, welcome back to my grow box of fun. And as you can see right here, I have what's left of my Ripsalis ramulosa. This was the plant that was also outside and just flourished outside. Then I brought it back indoors for the fall and winter, and it went, not thrilled. But from what I see here, I believe it's rooting. So I might be able to move it into soil again soon, which is a good deal. Then all these other goodies in here I'll tell you about later. But there is my Ripsalis ramulosa, pseudo-Ripsalis, I should say. All right, fellow plant people, because we're in winter, and even though winter can be nice and cozy, and hygge vibes are everywhere, it is also the season of death. So I'm just going to be straight with you that I have a few jungle cacti that really aren't doing that well at all right now. Namely this little guy that I found right before my tour. I think he's toast. This is my little Ripsalis capilliformis. It just struggled the whole dang time. It wasn't, it wasn't big enough to put in a larger terracotta pot than this, but because it's in a smaller terracotta pot, it just, unlike a couple of my other ones that are in similar sized pots, this one just didn't take to it and continuously dried up and just didn't rebound. And that happens, especially in this season. So capilliformis. And then I also have a couple of epiphyllums that are, they're doing okay. I have kind of a curly one. It's the monstrose, the Guadalumense monstrose. That is over on my other plant shelf right now. It's next to my big humidifier. I decided to give it a bigger dose of humidity, and that was kind of the most convenient spot to put it. It's getting similar light there. So really I'm just experimenting with the humidity for that one to see if there were parts of it that were crisping up, and it seemed to be crisping up along the base, like at the soil level, and then the leaves were drying out. So I'm trying to see if I can halt that and see if it'll rebound. It seems to be doing okay. I've had it there for a couple of weeks now. And then this one, this is my Queen of the Night orchid cactus, also an epiphyllum, and I think this one has a pest now that I'm looking at it a little bit closer. I moved it away from my other ones because it seemed to be kind of getting this weird stippling on it, and now I think I see scale. Ooh, yeah. On the undersides of the leaves, there are these little brown looking things that you can kind of remove with your fingernail. And I think that's scale. So we might be treating this one. There's another epiphyllum that I have that is currently being treated for something. If it's thrips or spider mites, I'm not entirely sure, but that one is in my bathtub right now, getting some, basically getting nuked at this point. So yeah, it's not all pretty, it's not all fun. So I'm fortunate that many of my jungle cacti are doing quite well, and the ones that aren't doing as well or are currently experiencing issues, I'm going to see what happens. I seem to have more of a challenge addressing pest pressures in the winter as opposed to the grow season. If they're just like that extra level of stress makes it harder for them to rebound after treatment. Could be, but I would have to say that, you know, 3 out of however many I have isn't terrible. It's kind of comes with the territory at this point, and this little Capiliformis, I'm just, you know, you win some, you lose some. So that's just me being honest with you that things aren't always pretty, and sometimes we have to stay on the struggle bus for a little while before we can get off on a stop that is more pleasant and scenic. So it's my little analogy for the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, please feel free to hit the like button. If you would like to subscribe, I do a lot more houseplant related content. I do a lot of gardening content, just be forewarned, because that is the thing I do when we're not in the dead season. But I do focus a lot on my houseplants as well. I have over 200 at this point. So please feel free, if you haven't already, subscribe below. And until next time, I hope that you are doing well and that you are also enjoying your plants.